Furthermore, monk remains focused on the mental qualities in and of themselves with reference to the sixfold internal and external sense media. And how does he remain focused on mental qualities in and of themselves with reference to the sixfold internal and external sense media? There is the case where he discerns the I, he discerns the forms, discerns the fetter that arises dependent on both. He discerns how there is arising of unarisen fetter, and he discerns how there is the abandoning of a fetter once it has arisen, and he discerns how there is no future arising of a fetter that has been abandoned. And that paragraph is repeated for ear, nose, tongue, body, and intellect, right? So it is not something in the papers, so I'm just reading it from the notes I have taken. So this particular paragraph is from Four Foundations of Mindfulness. Four Foundations of Mindfulness is the discourse that the Blessed One has introduced or preached all who are practicing mindfulness. In that discourse, I will just give a brief background of up to the point we are here now. The background is, in that discourse, the Blessed One is explaining the physical and mental processes at two levels. One, the gross level or the basic level, where he is explaining the practitioners how the physical process and mental process will be considered to be mindful. So that is what we did, right? We were practicing mindfulness using mindful walking and mindful sitting, and that is called being aware of the physical process, right? And we call it being mindful on the body. There are two other gross or the basic references or basic foundations which we can be mindful of. The two others are the feelings, which is the gateway to the mind, right? Feelings, when I say it means the pleasant feelings and unpleasant feelings, and any feelings in between, which cannot be classified either as pleasant or unpleasant, right? Blessed One is asking, when you bring your attention to the body, and if you can master the body, then your attention, or if you have already mastered, maybe, your attention will naturally go to these feelings. So when it goes to the feelings, it is part of the mental process. Observe that as well without any reaction, right? So once you, to a certain extent, master the feelings, then it opens up the bit more complicated or complex area of the mind or the mind itself, right? So even there, the Blessed One says, the same medicine, just keep observing, right? So that is called being mindful of the mind, right? So the basic or the primary mindfulness the Blessed One is teaching are therefore being mindful of the body, being mindful of the feelings, being mindful of the mind, right? So once you are to a certain extent, it doesn't take the time I have taken to explain it. It might happen in 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. I mean, it's not a huge thing, because then all of us are having physical and mental process. So if you are keen enough, and if you're focused enough, and if you are intelligent enough, all this will spring in few seconds, right? So when you are to a certain extent are aware or mastering the basic level, then the subtle layer of the physical process, mental process will come up, right? And that subtle layer, in the words of the Blessed One, is called Dhamma, or the nature, right? And in the nature also, we have the physical process and mental process. It's the same thing, but not at the basic level, but a bit of a complex level, which is the nature, right? In that, in the complex level, Blessed One is not directly taking our attention to the body first, right? Because you have mastered the body to a certain extent, or to a great extent, I should say, and the feelings and the mind already. Therefore, the first nature that you will see is, although you have mastered the basic level, the characteristics of the mind, which we call the hindrances, right? Hindrances that we have in the practice always are thoughts, mainly, right? Those thoughts, the Blessed One are classifying, it may be thoughts relating to your sensual desires, or it may be thoughts relating to your aversion, or it may be thoughts relating to your worrying about the past, or agitation about the future, or skeptical doubts, whether this is a damn path that will work, or whether Buddha has really enlightened. So you may have doubts. And Blessed One says, and if those things are not there, if all these thoughts are not there, then you will sleep well while sitting, while walking. So all these five, the Blessed One says, nothing wrong. It's the nature, right? So that's a bit complicated because people don't accept it. To accept that level, you must have mastered the body, you must have mastered the feeling, you must have mastered the mind to a certain extent. Then your mind is prepared to accept this. So once you accept that, or get used to accept it, then what happens is the physical and subtle layers of physical and mental processes springing up into different layers, right? One is directly the process of continuation, how we keep on doing things, right? What we are clinging on in our day-to-day living, in our normal living, right? They are called clinging aggregates, which we have discussed in detail in the past few sessions. And there are 5 clinging aggregates, which we call form, feelings again, and perceptions, and mental volitions, and the consciousness. These are 5 aggregates to which we cling to. In that, of those 5, 80% are mental factors. Only 20%, which is the form, the physical process. So therefore, our clinging is mainly on the mental side rather than on the physical side, right? And here we don't call it body, here we call it form, the basic elements, or even beyond basic elements, how you see your physicality, and the mental process, of which I'm not going to go into detail at this stage, since we have already discussed. And you can listen to those talks which are available in YouTube. And once you have some understanding, practice, experiential, as well as academic understanding and the intellectual understanding of it, then we can introduce ourselves into our real existence. What is our real existence? We see things, we hear things, we taste things, and what else do? We smell things, and we have tactile sensation, and we keep on daydreaming, right? So these are called, that is the topic we are discussing now. We have already discussed this in the last 2 sessions, or rather 3 sessions, but I will give a summary of that as well. The Blessed One is saying here, furthermore, the monk remains focused on mental qualities in and of themselves with reference to the 6-fold internal and internal and external sense media. What are the internal sense media? What I just mentioned: eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and the mind, right? Those are the internal sense media, sense faculties, right? And corresponding to these sense faculties, there is an external one as well. For the eye, it is always a form like that. and there will have something that eye is taking. I can't take my sound. For the sound, it's only the ear. Ear can't take this form of a thing, right? And similarly, the tongue has its own business, and the nose has its own business and own external object, right? And the body is having external object, and the mind is having mental object, right? So therefore, there are 6 internal sense media corresponding external objects, right? So the Blessed One says here, monks remains focused on mental qualities in and of themselves, right? When our eye is at work, since your sensitivity is high in relation to body, feelings, and the mind, then you know your eye is at work now. And the eye is now looking at a form outside, right? Because you don't react to things, you simply keep observing, right? And he's saying how this is happening and how does he remain focused on mental qualities in and of themselves with reference to 6 internal and external sense media. This is what he says. There is the case where he discerns the eye. He understands now all other faculties are not at work, only my eye is working, or the ear is working, or the nose is working, because his sensitivity is high, right? And not only that, if eye is at work or the ear, whatever the faculty at work, he very clearly understands, now I am listening, or now I am seeing, now I am tasting, or now I am having some bodily contact, right? Just be aware of that, right? And not only that, he says, he discerns how discerns the fetter that arises depending on the both. Fetter means once these two are together, then the chain starts. We get hooked on and it keeps on going. I will explain that later. And then he says, he discerns how there is a rising of an unarisen fetter, right? What it means is, now, say for example, you are looking at this insect, and then I am bringing your attention to that, and then your attention comes from seeing the insect to what I say. So which is, when you look at the insect, and your attention was there, and it was a different fetter, and because of my trigger, because of my cursor, an unarisen fetter starts with my voice, with my sound, and which gets in contact with your ear. And then if something else happens, then it goes from there to something else. So this continuous moving of faculties or of the same faculties to different objects, you see unarisen fetter is starting, right? And also, he discerns how there is abandoning of the fetter that once it has arisen. And also you see, it is not there forever. And once you have seen the insect, and when I triggered that you are looking at it, it is over, it is gone. And then you are hearing, and after that, someone is racing a car on the road, and your attention goes there, and what I was saying is gone. So you see the arising as well as an abandoning of it and fading away of it. What you simply do is discerns. Just be aware. Just understand, right? And he discerns how there is no future rising of a fetter that has been abandoned. So which means not that once you abandon one, that it will not happen. What has been happening in that particular point in time, once it is gone, you know that will not repeat. Another one will repeat of the same nature, but that one will never come back. Right? So this is the understanding that the Blessed One is saying. When you improve your mindfulness, when you improve your sensitivity, when you improve your observation, this is what you will get at. And he's explaining this after explaining a lot of things. Why he's keeping this very simple thing to the last minute is because that is our world. He doesn't want to straight away come and ask you to come and sit here and close your eyes and don't let your eye work, don't let your nose work, don't let your ear work. He doesn't stop the vehicle that is moving at a very rapid, very fast speed. He very gradually slows it down and change the lanes and take the appropriate exit and then stops the vehicle and then take the parts out and show this is how it has been working, right? So therefore, although this is the very basic, although this is what has to be tackled, he doesn't touch it until such time the practitioner is prepared, right? So before Buddha, those who are here should be able to remember, there was during Buddha's time, there was another teacher called Parasarya in India, and he has had a student called Uttara, and Uttara has once come and once visited Lord Buddha, and then paid respect to him and exchanged greetings with him, and then Lord Buddha asked a question, a question from Uttara. The question was, is your teaching, is your teacher teaches some sort of what do you call it, faculty restrainment? And then Uttara says, yes, my teacher, because it's a simple question. Said, yes, he's teaching. Then he has asked, how does he teach? Then he has said, my teacher says, from your eyes, don't look at things. From your nose, don't smell things. From your ears, don't hear things. Try to avoid all that. Then Lord Buddha has not allowed him to continue. Then he has straight away interrupted and asked, and according to your teacher then, all blind people are enlightened. All deaf people are enlightened. All dead people are enlightened because none of their faculties are working. And then Uttara may have been looking a place to hide, right? He has lost words. He has not had any counter argument for it. Then he has told Venerable Ananda, who is the chief attendant of the Lord Buddha those days, I also teach something to restrain my faculties. And my teaching is not to get rid of your faculties or get rid of the external objects. They are there for you to see your strength. If you are strong enough, then you should have the ability, you should have the control, you should have your own remote control with you, right? You don't change the outside world, right? You don't hate this marvelous body that we have to realize the universe, right? We use that to go through all these things. And then he has explained in 3 different layers how the development of faculties can be done in that particular discourse, which we call Indriya Bhavana Sutta, or the development of faculties discourse, which I'm not going to take now. So if I briefly touch upon what we discussed last time, and in the paragraph I just read, the paragraph was on the eye. He discerns the case, where he discerns the eye, he discerns the form and all that. And we discussed why is Buddha taking eye first. right? And the reason why he takes the I is because that is the most dominant faculty we have. Even if you go to a court of law, have you seen it? Can you produce a photograph? Can you produce a video clip? Or are there any CCTV shots or whatever you call it, right? And why? Because that is so dominant and everybody believes it, right? So therefore, Buddha starts with the I, right? And it is a faculty that can be used to establish all other faculties as well. That is why we have TV. In the TV, the sound is there, but more than the sound, the show you can see when you watch Voice and all sorts of things. See the glamorous clothes you have. I'm not watching Voice now. I don't. I have been watching, and that was one of my favorite shows as well those days. But what I want to emphasize is that's something to check your vocal ability. But more than the vocal ability, the visual part is there to convince the vocal ability. And it is not only for that, for smells, for tastes, right? They use the TV, right? So therefore, visuals or the vision is so powerful, and therefore the Buddha is taking the I first, right? And not only that, the other faculties, if we take ear, nose, tongue, and those four faculties all are here in the head. All the four faculties are in the head, so close to the brain. Whereas the body, just one faculty, the rest of it, so big, not close to the body, right? So the other four faculties are so close to the brain, and they are very dominant, right? Of those, the I is the most dominant one, so therefore the Blessed One is taking I first, and we discussed a lot more details in the last session about it. Now, if I come to the topic that we will have to discuss today, with these complicated faculties, how is Blessed One introducing it to the mindfulness? That is what we are doing. So there should have some relationship to mindfulness. To control or to manage the faculties, right? So therefore the Blessed One is very cleverly not touching any of the faculties which are complex. He's not touching the eye, he's not touching the ear, he's not touching the nose, he's not touching the tongue. He takes the easiest one, which is the body, right? When I say lower part of the body, hip down. Say upper part of the body, hip up. So you have a huge area to keep your attention to, right? And if I ask you to keep your attention to the eye and see what happens, it becomes so complex, right? But instead, this huge area, it is easy to take our attention to, and it is big enough, and it is simple enough, and it is easy enough to involve in, right? In other words, we all have gone to school. I don't know whether we remember. If of course don't remember, in the primary school, they don't teach. We have 52 or 56 in Sinhala. In our language, we have 50 odd characters in our alphabet, right? And in English, 24, 26. 26. Okay, I'm sorry. So ignorant. So of those 26, we don't ask the kids to write A or B first. We ask them to write I. It's just a straight line. It is easy to get the kids involved. And then they may teach L, I'm assuming, right? So then another line extension to I. So start in the easy way. So in our language, the first letter is we call and it's you may have seen our letter so complex, right? But the first letter that they are teaching is just a round and a straight line, which we call R, right? So therefore we start with the easy one. Even in exams, most of our teachers, what they have told is start with the easiest one, right? So therefore, even the blessed one is applying the same principle. Start with the easy one, which is the body, right? So we take our attention to the body. When we take our attention to the body, it covers the whole body. And then when the attention is taken to the body, he is trying to explain or introduce the restrainment of the faculties, or at least the body in this instance, in 3 stages. The 3 stages are, we take the striking element, we take ignition element, and then we take the process, which we call theta, right? In Pali, we call it Arammana Dwara Tadupapanna, striking element, ignition element, and the process. So if we take, for example, what we do, striking element of the walking, of the walking is the placing of the foot or the walking on the ground, right? And in the case of sitting, it is the breath. We have an object. That object, what we try to observe, is the striking element. And ignition element is the touch. When you place the foot, right, and it ignites something, right? We ask you to take information. Information of what? Whatever that you feel. It may be the shape, it may be the manner, it may be the sensation, it may be anything, right, that your attention can go to while walking. And similarly, while breathing, and the simple request is to observe information. And I have given some triggers as well to see how you feel the in-breath, how you feel the out-breath. These two are different, right? So if you feel you are keeping the attention to the breath, and when it strikes, say for example, at the entrance of the nostril or in the tummy, in-breath you can observe different to the out-breath. In-breath, when it is going in, you may feel some wind is gushing in, or when it is going in, you may feel some coolness. If you are observing the tummy, or when the in-breath is happening, you can see the tummy is inflating. That's an information, right? And that is this ignition, right? And similarly, out-breath, you can see the deflation of the tummy, or out-breath at the entrance of the nostril. Maybe the wind is coming out, or slightly warmer, right? So that's the basic. And when you get closer and closer, you can see the start of the in-breath differently. You can see the progress of the in-breath different. You can see the ending of the in-breath different. So of the in-breath itself, there are a lot of information. Similarly, the out-breath, right? And same in the walking. When you keep on observing this placing of the foot, you see right foot is placed different to the left. There are a lot of information that people can observe and people can give, right? And it's like right wheel, right leg drive, right leg walking, and left leg is just pulling. Or for some others, it is left leg walking and right foot is just going. It's like front wheel, rear wheel drive, right? And we don't notice. And for some people, when they very closely observe, they observe that one leg is slightly shorter than the other. Unless you very clearly get close and see, we don't see these things. So in this manner, what I want to say is, when you have the object, which we call striking element, and then the ignition element, then more and more information comes in, and then the process starts. Then the fetter start. Then we call it the tadupapanna start. So when the tadupapanna starts, what happens is internal faculty and the external faculty is connected. How is it connected? By an energy called consciousness. Right? Internal faculties, external faculties, anyway there. It has been there before we try to bring our attention to the breath. Before we bring our attention to the food. It has been there. Right? But we didn't know. Right? But now we know, unless or when we are aware of it. How we can be aware of it is because of this connection. Let me put it this way, moving away from in-breath and out-breath, moving away from walking and sitting. Say, for example, when you take your eye and when you look at me, there are so many things that your eye can go to. So many things, so many forms. But your eye is going only to one thing, not everything else. Right? So for that one thing, why it is happening is there is some wave connection. There is some energy connection between that object and your eye. I don't know, light reflection or whatever you call it scientifically. You know it better than me. Right? So that wave connection, that energy connection happens. That energy connection is called consciousness. Right? So when in other words, what I want to say is consciousness takes place or consciousness happens when the internal and external elements are joined. If they're not joined, there is no consciousness. If you're looking at me, you have no consciousness with this, or with this, or with this, or with that. Right? The consciousness is only with me and your eye. Right? So when this consciousness takes place, the three things have come together. What are the three things? Internal element, external element, and the consciousness. That is called a contact. It may be eye contact, it may be nose contact, it may be whatever contact you call it. And that is happening while walking and while sitting. When you observe your breath, your contact is with the tummy or with the nose or with the chest. Right? While walking, your contact is with the lower part of the body, mainly the sole of the feet. Right? So when that contact is there, immediately you will have a feeling. Right? You will have either some liking or disliking. Right? When you feel when the air is going in, if it is cool, you may feel it is good. Right? Or when you walk, if the contact is there with the sole of the feet, and you feel, oh, fine, I was able to bring my attention to that. So there will have some feeling, right? And if you can't bring your attention, if it is not there, there will have a feeling that you don't like, unpleasant feeling will be there, right? And then there is another connection as well, which I'm not going to take here. But simply what I want to say is because of the contact, the feeling will arise, and that feeling will be either pleasant or unpleasant. Because of this, the clinging starts. When you have a feeling, if you like it, you want to hold on to it. If you don't like it, you want to demolish it, you want to destroy it, you want to bombard it. Both are clinging. Both are clinging. When you don't want destruction, is also a clinging. Trying to destroy is also a clinging. And trying to hold on is also clinging. But when we say clinging, we think only when we like, we try to cling. No. Because we try to cling on to liking and the pleasantness, we naturally cling on to the other as well. Right? And this clinging keeps on continuing the dependent origination. You know, there are 12 stages in the dependent origination. Clinging, because of the clinging, you want to become something, become somebody. And then that gives rise to birth, and that gives rise to death, old age, sickness, and death, right? So the dependent origination continues, right? So that part, which part? Part from contact, feeling, clinging, and the continuation of dependent origination is the fetter, is the process. I said there are 3 stages: striking element, ignition element, and the fetter or the process. The process starts only once the contact is there. So what the Blessed One does is, in the practice, try to see this process. What he says is, you will have the contact. Don't remove your eye. Don't remove your faculties, but observe the contact. So he's training us by asking us to bring the attention to the tummy, bring the attention to the chest, if that is prominent, or if you're at the entrance of the nostril is prominent, bring your attention there. And he's using that contact, in other words, internal, external object, and the consciousness that arises from that, which is called the contact, to stop us there. If you stop there, you will have feeling, but still you will observe. And because you observe, the clinging will not arise. Pleasantness is there, unpleasantness is there, you can't sit, your bump is burning and the leg is going to go into pieces, but still, that fellow has set the bell for 45 minutes, I will let it keep sitting. Right? So when you continue that, you gradually change your attitude towards this pleasantness and unpleasantness. Right? So this fetter is challenged. Right? So when you challenge the fetter, the process discontinues. The process will not go on as has been happening in the past. In the past, we never observed, oh, now my legs are paining, so you just change your posture. And the pain is gone. That's a reaction. You had a contact, you had a feeling. Because you are clinging so much onto the comfort, you change the posture. And the dependent origination goes on. And it goes on at such a rapid or fast rate, we don't know we are doing it. And if we tell somebody to stop it, you are mad, they will say. Because that's what the whole world is saying. Whole world is saying, have this balm, have that medicine, have that vitamin to get rid of this pain. But instead, Blessed One says, you cannot avoid those things. Only thing you can do is, if you want to really avoid, observe. In other words, change your attitude. So things will be there as it is, but you will have a different mentality. You will have your own remote control with you. Nobody can click buttons. You will be having it, and if you want, you click, and if you click, you know. You do it with the awareness. So when you do it with the awareness, it is under control. Right? So in that manner, the Blessed One is trying to bring our attention to the process and try to avoid or minimize liking and disliking. And he says, this is how I teach the restrainment of faculties to the practitioners or my followers, right? And there are 3 layers, how it is being done to those who are still trying to achieve an enlightenment stage, and those who are achieved the first stage and going to the final liberation, and how those who are really achieved the final liberation, how they will handle these faculties. And there are 3 different layers, which I'm not going to take here because it's in a different discourse, and we are concentrating on the 4 foundations of mindfulness discourse. So as a result, what happens is you will not remove your faculties, you will not destroy the corresponding objects, you become simply an observer, and you gain the ability to involve only to the extent necessary. And it will be, you will be living in the world in the way you want, under your control. So that is why we have things called controlled burning. We want to burn to avoid massive, what do you call it? What burning? Wildfires. So we should have controlled burning. When we have controlled burning, wildfire does not take place. Similarly, we have controlled storm water release. Unless we release it, the entire Brisbane will go underwater. So therefore, they control and release it. So the same way, the Blessed One is teaching controlled involvement. What is the control we have here? Awareness. If you are aware of what is happening, then you will not cling on to things. And don't cling on to things, the fetter or the dependent origination will not continue. So therefore, he says, there is the case where he discerns the I. Right? Now my I is at work. It discerns forms. He knows now I'm looking at something. And he discerns the fetter that arises. When you look at something, I will work, the mind will work the way it is used to. Right? But you know. And sometimes you feel when you know it, why I became mindful. Because by being mindful, we try to be good boys and good girls. But instead, what the mindfulness does is, shows how bad you are. And it is happening, the fetter is happening, but you are aware. And then because you are aware, because your mindfulness is to the fore all the time, you know when it starts, you know when it ends, you know that it is gone, and that one will not come again. Right? So that is how the Buddha is teaching to develop the skill to master the faculties using mindfulness without destroying the world. Right? So hope that has given you some idea how the Blessed One using this mindful walking and mindful sitting, which is the contact with the body, bringing our awareness, training our mind in relation to the other faculties as well. So when you bring our attention to the body in this manner, I will have to keep its mouth shut anyway. Ear will have to have a restrainment whether they like it or not. And similarly, all other faculties. Because the mind, we have only one mind. We have only one attention. And if we don't have awareness of where the attention is going, it goes everywhere. Since we have the awareness, and our awareness is to the body, other guys will have to sleep. They are pulling, but still we are aware. If they become dominant, the advice is just take information of that. This is the information that you get. You are now involved. Now it is over. The next one is coming up, observing that as well. Right. So with that, hope you will be able to use mindfulness to put that into practice, and not really intentionally put that into practice. That will naturally happen when you keep on practicing your mindful walking and mindful sitting. It is not something that is intentionally done. That is something that will get developed over time. So don't worry if your faculties are not restrained as well. just be aware that it is not restraint. That itself is a restrainment. So may you be blessed with the triple gem, Thiruvan Salman. So with that, I'm not sure whether I have taken a long time. No, I have not. I have stopped on the dot. So we can take rest of the time. We have about half an hour for a discussion. And if there is any points, I think this gentleman, I'm sorry, I didn't ask your name. I didn't tell my name either. Arthur, right. My name is Dhammarakita. I'm not quite sure whether you will be able to pronounce that. Dhammarakita. Yeah.
And can I call you Swami?
The generic term we are using is Bhante. Bhante. Yeah. Which is the term that the Blessed One has introduced to the monks. Yeah. You had a question. Yes, Chato, if you want to.
What is
For recording purpose.
What is enlightenment and why should we strive for it?
Yeah, the question is what is enlightenment and why should we try to achieve it? Right. I'll take the first one, and with that, I think we should be able to get an answer for the second part as well. Simple explanation, very easy explanation of enlightenment is the happiness. Enlightenment means happiness, right? So if I take a bit further, happiness means you are happy at workplace, you are happy at home, you are happy wherever you go, wherever you are, right? So when you are happy, what it basically does is take away the reaction. If you react to something, which means you don't like that particular thing, right? And that is why we react, right? So when you are happy, whatever is there, you don't react. When you don't react, initially it is unpleasant. Although it is unpleasant, because you don't react, you conserve energy, the negative energy that may have been used to react, right? So because of that energy conservation, you become happier, right? You increase your threshold of tolerance, right? Tolerance level will be higher, and as a result, your sensitivity also becomes higher, right? And this is what people call EI, intelligence, something, emotional intelligence, right? Because you are not emotional, you are observing your emotions, right? So when you observe emotions, you can't observe and react, right? Initially, it will not happen so well. It will be a mix. But when you keep on practicing, your reaction part becomes lesser and the observation part becomes higher. So it takes over, because that is all what we do is, while living, we are trying to find a way to be happy, right? So when you observe for a thought moment that non-reaction has given you happiness, you will strive for another thought moment to stay without reacting. So those thought moments increase, and you understand non-reaction is giving some happiness. Yes, of course, my leg is paining. Yes, of course, my heart is pounding and I can't bear it. Yes, of course, my head is going to blow out. But I'm observing it. I'm bearing it up. So your threshold increases, your patience increases, when those things are happening, you become happier and happier. And that non-reactional attitude takes away three things. The three things it takes away are called the roots of defilements, which are greed, hatred, and delusion. Right? If you react because you like something so dearly, which is the greed. And because you have that greed, the thing that is challenging the greed is hated, and the gun is on the head of that. Right? So since you are observing, since you are not reacting, you are taking both that away, greed and hatred away. Right? And not only that, the ignorance that we had, that they are not there, is also taken away, which is called delusion. Right? So we gradually, without our knowledge, we are taking the greed, hatred, and delusion away. So when we take greed, hatred, and delusion away, we are finding the basic solution to the question that the entire world is looking answers for. What is the question the entire world is looking the answers for? Whether we like it or not, that is what we do. By trying to be happy, what we try to do is, we are trying to find a way not to fall sick. That is why the pharmaceutical is a business, a mafia. Right? And that is why we are trying our level best not to get old. These are the questions that the world is trying to answer. That is why they are spending so much of trillions of dollars on NHMRC and all this health research. But no answers yet. Right? And finally, death. These are the three basic things that we want the answers for. And the world is looking at the right direction, but not walking on the right path. Right? There is a reason why we have old age, sickness, and the death. I don't think you want to hear that. The reason for these three is the birth. If we are born, there is no super hand, superpower that can stop we falling sick. We are getting old, and our death. The birth is the root cause, most proximate cause for these three things. Right? So therefore, what Buddha does is, non-reaction takes away the chain of continuation, dependent origination. So I don't think by being enlightened, you want to stop birth, because we celebrate our birthdays. Right? So what the Blessed One, enlightenment, simple meaning is, we take our ability to be born again. That is why we observe. If we don't observe, we keep on reacting, keep on reacting, keep on reacting. We have always something to do. Blessed One says, try to stop it, try to stop it, try to stop it. Difficult, but you can do it. Human beings can do it. That is why we are having advanced mind. Otherwise, animals are also doing everything else what we do. Although they are doing it in trees and cages and in the wild, right? But we do it at home. But it's the same thing, right? So therefore, why we should strive is, it provides the answers to the fundamental questions that the world is looking answers for. So hope I have given an answer to both the questions. Thank you. Thank you. Any other question or report?
I wanted to thank you for summarising the last few sessions because I missed them, so that was very good for me. And also from your teachings, it's really clear that if we're not aware of our triggers, we're just reacting to them, which just puts us into all sorts of chaos. Whereas if we can stop, become aware of what's going on, be mindful of that, it gives us a lot of power over the situation, and also provides a calmness, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for that comment. Yes, it brings some calmness, and that is something that I have been talking to Arthur before we started the program. We don't, the calmness is a byproduct, right? And we don't, and most of us, when we get that calmness, our greed, now we have come away from the sensual greed, but our greed may take now this, we may be greedy about the calmness, right? So therefore, mindfulness means when we are calm, when we are peaceful, when we are having pleasantness, we become aware of that as well, right? So in feelings, most of us talk about the negative side of it, but the positive side, I'm all good, right? And it's a human tendency, right? So therefore, in this manner, when you talk, what you talk is the mind, right? So when you talk, it is very easy for me to add something to that, and that helps you to go further, right? So there is nothing wrong in calmness, right? Because you have now better state to live in rather than the sensual world. Now, it also has some defects, and we can correct those defects as well and go to even a higher level. So therefore, when you have calmness, just become aware of it. And it's also important when you give a report about walking and sitting as well. No matter what, just speak, so that it will tell something about something what you have in your mind. The purpose of the reporting is to take the mind out. Thank you. Yes.
Since you've advised to provide reports as a general comment, yeah, it's been a while since we practiced or we came to the session. So I'll talk about the walking first. I find it a lot easier to bring my attention to the feet now, even though it's been a while. I can now bring attention to the feet, the different parts of the feet, and also identify, say, different toes or different parts of the foot. Before it was all just one big area. And something I felt like it didn't happen, but it feels like when you have attention to the feet and it's drawn there, there's some level of calmness in the body, and it's almost like you can isolate a part of your body and feel what that part of your body, like a message that is coming from that part. I didn't get there, but it just felt like it was like on the cusp of that, which was an interesting sensation. And that was for the walking, and then for the sitting.
Yeah, before going on to the sitting, you have observed whatever that you have been able to observe on the walking, especially the sole of the feet. You have observed the toes and the areas, right? So those are the shapes of your information, right? And if you can improve this, increase this, and observing the manner as well, right? What comes first, what then what, then, etc. So it's not only the shape, you go to the manner as well. And then you have gone to the sensations as well, right? Sensations have come and you have been observing it and you have allowed it to happen. You have been mindful, but those things have been happening at very fast rate. So you aren't able to provide information. So you are using the generic term to say I had sensations and I was able to isolate some part of my body, and then I was feeling something, which means your mind is now not with the external world. Mind is with your body, right? And that's very good. And because the mind is with your body, the entire energy that you have been using to be with the external world is conserved, and that is with the body, and that is why you feel calm, right? So now the next thing is, since you have the ability to bring your attention to the body in this manner, try to get as much information as possible of this energy, of this calmness, of this sensation. You can say, this is the sensation I am talking. This is what I feel, right? Then you have more information. And why I ask for more information is to let you drill more into the body. You will have to get more and more close to the whatever you feel and tell me how and what, right? So not that there is any value, but you are driven more in, because the defilements are in this body. Why I said the defilements are in this body? The mind has made this body, right? So if we go in, the defilements that are used to make this body will come, right? So on the right track. So keep it up on a daily basis. Right. So the sitting we will listen to now.
The sitting is probably one of the most unconcentrated sittings I've had in a long time. Probably on par with the first time I came. I was not concentrating on or not being mindful of what I needed to be, and I was focusing on things that were happening at work. So I have not much to add to that.
Yeah, that's a very good report for everybody, because this is a very common thing, right? And that is, you very clearly explained what I wanted to be, right? Mindfulness is not asking you to be anything. Mindfulness is asking you to be aware. So in that perspective, do you consider this is awareness or not? Yeah, so awareness is not that difficult. But although we are aware, our mind is suggesting to complain. Because I wanted to be this and was not able to achieve that. So that is what the mind wants to cling on to something. So mind is saying, no, you were not able to observe the breath, so therefore useless. And useless because of this, you know. And it was specifically things that are happening in the office. So this is what awareness does. Awareness is, because of your awareness, you are able to very clearly say, no, I was not able to have my attention to the breath. Is awareness. And this is the reason, not just thoughts, specifically say these thoughts. So you have more details of the disturbance. So that is exactly what we say in the guidance. If the disturbance is prominent, take information of that, take details of that, right? And now you have taken the details. Now one more step ahead. Appreciate the fact that you are mindful. That is what brings the happiness. That is a stepping stone for the enlightenment, right? So no complaints. Anybody else? Anything else? Anything in the Zoom?
Bante, I
Everyone?
would like Terun Sarnai Bante, Nilanta, and I would like to go a little bit further on that because I try to do, like, some days I do meditation very well. Like, it's like a likeness and dislikeness actually, and when like especially coming after long work day, the recent memories and all these things one after one and coming, and actually I don't like that situation. And then what I feel like now is like I have this body sensation and everything, like tightness and everything, and then I feel my body very well. And I recently started to feel that I am doing this teeth grinding. Actually, my dentist told me very early on I'm doing it, but I feel it now, like even throughout the day. I feel it, like even when I'm thinking, if I don't like those thinking processes, like how much I'm thinking, like I'm more open to this thinking process even outside meditation, and I don't like it. And that's as a result of that, I start to notice that this my teeth grinding is going on, and
What is going on?
Teeth grinding, like, you know.
Yeah.
And that's actually feels sometimes a little bit tired through the day. And I try to do meditation as much as possible, like because of basically I just want to get away from these thoughts. That's why I want to do meditation. And but it's something I have now new theory that your body is trying to give you a message about your thoughts, and your body doesn't like it or something. I don't know. It seems to be another thought process, I think.
Yeah. It makes sense, and what you say is acceptable, because when the mental process is surfacing, is coming out, unless you really have the heightened awareness to accept it as it is, these are my thoughts and I'm just aware of them, and I'm happy about being aware of thoughts, then the issue will not come. But here you have on one hand the observation going on, and on the other hand you are hating the fact that you are thinking. So this is the reality, because just because we are mindful, our mind will not salute us and, okay, you take over, I will go. It will fight as much as possible. What it fights with is our character. This is our personal trait, to resist to things, right? And you want to be mindful and you want to stop thoughts, right? So the problem starts there. You have an object of stopping thoughts. So as soon as you have an expectation that I should achieve this, then you are providing fuel to the fire. Instead, because so long as we have a mind, the confirmation that we have a mind is thoughts. So only thing we can do is, thoughts are taking place. Instead of hating, you just keep observing, right? And since this observation and the hatred is going together, it physically reflects by teeth grinding. And that is because you are exerting energy to stop it. You should exert energy not to stop it, but to be mindful. To be mindful is just let anything happen and be aware and be happy about it, right? So then there is a possibility for the thoughts to come under control. But the way it is going, and you have seen the problem. The problem is you said, maybe unintentionally, that you hate it. Just be aware of that. When your mind says you are hating the thoughts, just be aware of that as well. Then the motivation to have the expectation will be weakened. Right? So it is a process. Take it light and don't strive too hard. Striving too hard and trying to do it as quickly as possible also aggravate things. So you will have to fine tune this. It's like tuning an engine, right? You can't do it too much. You can't do too little as well. It's like tuning a guitar or tuning a sitar, right? So it has to come to the fine tune. So only way you come to the fine tuning is by tightening too much or by loosening too much. So by doing that, you will find the middle ground. So the simple advice is keep continuing and be happy that you are aware of whatever is happening.
Thank you, Bhante. I try to find the middle ground. Actually, it's not too tightening or not too loosening. It's important. I think. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes. Don't try to find the middle ground. Just be aware that you are not on the middle ground. Then that will take you to the middle ground. Anybody else? We can conclude now. Right. Okay, so it's again on the dot. You're doing very good. To conclude the session, as we traditionally do, we have in this session, by practicing mindfulness, walking and sitting, and this listening to a talk on that, and discussing about it, we have generated tremendous amount of positive energies. We can share these positive energies with all other beings in the universe, maybe human, maybe non-human, maybe beings near and far, with all the beings, with the beings who have departed us. So with that in mind, we will chant the stanzas here on page 5 to transfer these positive energies.